We live.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good morning. Wherever you're joining us from, this is Chigozie George, and I'm excited to welcome you to StandOut Conversation today. So let's just quickly make sure that we're live on every platform, including Facebook. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. So let's just make sure we're live on all the accounts. So thank you for joining us today. We're excited to be here with you. So we're live confirmed. We're live on Instagram, yes, and we're live on LinkedIn as well. So thank you for joining us. And we're confirming that we're live on Facebook. So wherever you're joining us, we're excited to be with you. I'm joined today by a dear friend of mine and a dear brother of mine. So it's going to be an amazing conversation as we always have it here. So thank you for joining us again. Just a few minutes, we're going to trying to confirm that we are again live on Facebook. Let me know if you can, if you, it's okay. Yes, we're almost there. We're almost there. So, okay. All right. Great. The StandOut Conversation is an opportunity to explore, diverse topics, that concern leadership, management, education, and different areas of life as it affects me, you, and as it affects the continent of Africa and its implications on global affairs. So I'm Chigozie George, and today I'm joined by an amazing personality, and he's called Mervis Shembo. He's the ambassador and chairperson of Grand African Projects. He's a PhD scholar and expert in consultant in governance and organizational leadership. So together today we'll be exploring conversations around leadership, like I said, governance, institution, building Africa's future, and the role of professionals in shaping meaningful change in Africa and the globe. And this is the StandOut Conversation. So let's think together, let's converse together, and let's build together. One more time, I am Chigozie George. Let's get into it. Let me give our guest today, Mervis Shembo, to tell us a little bit about himself and what he is into. You're welcome, Mervis Shembo. Nice to have you again on the conversation show.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great pleasure. One of the greatest moments I usually remember is we had this conversation, I think 2 years ago, a year and a
Yes.
half or 2 years ago. And
Yes.
if I look back, I look the journey and see consistency surely. One of the other things I see is I'm quite sure, as I said, along the way we're still on becoming. The conversation is still on. Consistency is it's a mother key, and seeing actually having this conversation again 2 years after, I can see 5 to 10 years will be maybe as on bigger platforms. More than one of my bigger platform like conferences. We are still waiting. Actually, I think we have been placing those demands of having this as a big conference because we know we have the capacity and the reachability for this. Yes, I'm Mervis Jean-Paul Shembo. I'm African. I usually prefer to say as I'm African. I'm also Congolese from Democratic Republic of Congo. Oui, je parle français. Je suis de la République démocratique du Congo for other people which are reaching out. But also as a Pastor George, I usually love to call him Pastor George, but here it's Sir. As you said, I'm a PhD student. I'm doing my organization leadership. I was supposed to finish last year, but due to work and everything, I'm keep on pushing. Yeah, so apart from that, I'm also a consultant in governance and leadership. We work with different agency, mostly youth agency, governance, youth ministers around the continent. Also, I'm also the chairperson of the Grand African Project. It's an NGO that we work with. We almost in all the 5 regions in our continent. We have representative, and also at the same time ambassador. Those 2 positions allow me to, as a chairperson, I'm not present every day. Like for instance, I'm in East Africa. And I think a month ago I was in the Corn of Africa, Ethiopia. Now I'm currently in Nairobi. And if you look a few months back again, I think I was in Burundi. So we still try to push. And I think by next month or the month to come, in the next 2 months, I'm supposed to be in the Southern Africa, mostly in Southern Africa. Yeah, mostly in South Africa. With everything that's happening, I'm supposed to be in South Africa. So it's a great pleasure, and that's how in general, that's who I am, what we do, and our hope is to build a strong Africa, to build a new generation of leader, mostly pragmatic way by the works we do, training leaders, conferences, and this is not just leaders in one chair, but in different spheres. We believe in congruency, we believe in synchronization, we believe in making sure that development is not an isolated thing. It's something that we are doing from all the spheres to come together.
Great. Let's quickly get into the conversations for today. We have lots of things to discuss today. I'm very sure that talent is not the problem in Africa. Neither is resource.
Definitely not the problem.
But we have this failure to build competence and accountability in leadership system. That's one of the things I realize to be a major issue in Africa. I don't know if you would agree with me on that. Let's start from there first.
If I have to say it, I would say again, as you said, we have an issue. We have a bigger issue to build the competency. That's what you said.
Yes.
Having a strong institutions and government, and yes, I would say most of scholars, most of studies have been. The beauty of this, I've worked in Congress, in National Congress. That's even in the country. I've also worked internationally in Africa, in international organizations, and actually leading one. One of the things we realize is even that's my professional, but also as a scholar, somebody who's studying organizational leadership, mostly focusing on Africa. One of the things we realize is most of studies, most of councils and advisors that our governments, different governments, have been given, even on the top of the African Union, we look into institutions. And that's okay. It's very good. We look to institutions. We look to development in a way that is broad, sustainable development. We look to a broader perspective. And many theories actually that have been actually put outside there, it's more of institution problems. Maybe climate change is a problem. Maybe the governing system is a problem. So we're trying to change constitutions. We're trying to change institution, the way they are built, so and further. But we miss one important thing.
And what is that important thing that we miss in African leadership?
Is the individual, the person, the African person himself.
Okay.
So if you have to take our historicity, our history also, you see from where we come from to where we are today, and what has happened along the way, and why do we act the way we act? Why do we speak the way we speak? and why actually I'll give an example that is weird. Why we two presidents will be fighting, we speak with a better English more than other. And then you realize that, yeah, you'll be shocked. That's us actually. You'll be shocked. It's a joke, surely. But then how do we get there? You have to understand that one of the things that I'll give an example and come back to the answer, my answer very fast. One of the things after you have the Holocaust of the Jewish people, the first thing they did, apart to unite everyone, one of the few things they did first, it was to study the mental, the mind of the person, how the mind of the person was affected by what he went through.
Okay.
We are product of society. And this is in our political culture, our leadership, political culture have been formed through years. We have almost most of the countries 60 to 70 years of freedom. And these years normally it's almost 2 generations. We should get better, isn't it? We should get better, we should think better, act better, and we should know better. For 60 years, if you can't figure out your way, you're out of the game. This is too late for you to start thinking for 60 years. But then one of the things that when you take in the Holocaust period, they did studies. They show that trauma traveled to generations.
Okay.
So if trauma traveled to generation, we think we think of it as a psychological thing.
All right.
But then there is also trauma that traveled to generation through psychology, to biology.
Okay.
And this is the new field of study that we call epigenetics. So we having people who have been colonized, slavery, colonization. And after that, we thought like after 60 years, that is in the past. Unfortunately, it's not in the past. The trauma.
So if I get you correct, you think that the trauma of slavery, the trauma of colonization, the trauma of everything that Africans have gone through still lingers on us. The impact of it still lingers on us.
After I wish I would say I think, but study shows they are proof now.
So it's not something you're thinking about. You are certain that studies prove that the trauma of colonization, the trauma of slavery and all of that still lingers in our mind. The trauma of coup d'etats across Africa still lingers in the mind of Africans today.
Not just it still linger, but it also shaped the political culture. So what is the political culture? Political culture is the way people apprehend politics. It's the way you are thought about politics and leadership in your country or in your area. This goes in most of things. So when the political culture is affected by trauma, this is one of the major thing I said, they were so smart. I mean, unfortunately, if I have to say they were so smart, is the people colonized. We never had a talking stage where we have to talk about the trauma so we can heal from it to go forward. If you take South Africa, for instance, there were a peace and reconciliation process that was surely not 100%, but it helped to calm the temper. Until today, you have repercussions that we'll talk about actually. So there is still a political culture we inherited of a strong man, where when somebody become a president, become a strong man. And you can still see that in Gabon. You can still see, I'm not going to mention countries. Am I free to do so?
No, go ahead. You know, the thing I want us to always emphasize across Africa is demystifying leadership at every sphere of leadership, at every level of leadership. I honestly believe that the moment we can demystify leadership, whether it is in church level, at the mosque level, at the political office level, the moment we can demystify leadership and understand it not as a strong man like you have just mentioned, but as an act of service, I think that will go a long way, you know, to solving a lot of the leadership crises we have across Africa.
And I think you just touched, as you said, demystifying it. It's bring to show that there shouldn't be a strong man. The strong man approach come from what we gain from slavery, colonization, like an administration that is ruling over us, extracting mineral, extracting good, extracting people. So when we have that kind of administration, when we took power as Africans, we took power, but we didn't change mostly the system. We changed the masters. We took one of us to be the master over other. So for the one of us who took power, he also fell into the trap of leadership as a strongman. So that's why you have from the 1960s to the 1980s coup d'etats in Africa. It means like instability of power because everyone wanted to be a strongman, not building institutions, but building strongman regime. You have somebody like Bokassa. Go ahead, sir.
And you just mentioned not building institutions, but building strong men. I was having a conversation with our guys recently, and I tried to emphasize something that mostly across the African continent, we don't build institutions. We build governance around people. And that's why, for example, you come into my own country, Nigeria now.
Yes,
we
sir.
don't have institutional politics. We don't have institutional parties that are based on ideologies. We have parties that are based on individuals. For example, the current party in our country, ruling party in Nigeria now, is, and in fact, to digress a bit, not even to digress, we call them the ruling party. We don't call them the leading party. We call them the ruling party.
The ruling party.
We expect them to rule over us. So
As
if
the
we say
British
the ruling
rule over
party in
Nigeria
Nigeria now is APC, and the chances are there that if this presidency finishes his tenure of service either in 2027 or in 2031, that party will break.
That's the issue.
And if he loses the election in 2027, that party is gone. Every other person will run back to the ruling party again, because it is our party system, our governance, our political system is not structured around institutions and ideologies. They are structured around what you have just referred to as strongman ideology, strongman thoughts.
And the worst part of it is actually we know this. But then in politics, as I've told you, I've been in politics for, I did almost 6-7 years in politics. In politics, as long as we are winning, we keep the system. Shifting and moving, transforming the system might cost us more. So as long as, if we try to change, some people will lose certain things. If these people lose certain things, they might not help us in the next election. So keeping the status quo in African politics, unfortunately, has been a way to calm everyone and to make sure that everyone gets something out of it. But then, if I have to say, as I was saying, actually, building institutions come from the type of rules and law and regulation you put in the country. And often the rules and law, you find the rules and law are in different countries. But it's the people who are responsible of respecting the rules and law and regulation. And that's how you build strong institutions. We have countries in Africa that have strong institutions. Botswana.
Okay.
The current president of Botswana, it's a shock. Like, people didn't expect him. But he won the election. He won the election. President Boko. You have country like I will take Botswana, I'll take Namibia. Country that have strong institutions, well governed. So the problem of strong men is what? Whenever they leave with everything they had. Then you start from zero. A new administration come. You start from zero. So I think at this stage, we have inherited a lot of trauma, a lot of political culture that is not healthy for any country to strive. Even when we build institutions, we have tendency to refer to a president as the father of a nation, as the God, as almost God in the country.
And that's what you find, in our system. For example, if you come to Nigeria,
yes, sir,
people refer the president as the father of the nation.
Unfortunately.
And people refer to the wife of the president as mother of the nation. In fact, there was a particular scenario in the House of the Senate where the leader of our Senate, referred to the mother, to the wife of the president as the mother of everybody in the Senate. So, again, you find out that it's not just in politics, even in church, in ministry, in the mosque. The pastor or the leader of the church is referred to as the father of everybody in the church. The leader of the mosque is referred to as the father of everybody in the mosque. Are you saying that this is something that is limiting or militating against true leadership across
So,
Africa?
at which point, as African in our culture, we start re-electing fathers? If your father in the house, at which point we start at which point, we start contradicting our fathers with the respect, the way we have been teach. That is, there's a correlation. They usually take that word, put in a leadership position. So in your mind, you directly put it in between, like, if he's our father of a nation, he cannot make mistake. No. What we need from leader is accountability. We have a political culture that is being embedded with trauma and problems and epigenetics. We have got trauma from generation to generation. And today, if we're going to have to change, we're going to have a new mindset, a new way of approaching things. And this is not like we change institution. We have good laws. We have institution. It's just the people who have been leading us have been to trauma. Some of them were even in independence days till today. We have youth today, but they are leaders who were present in independence. They were already born 70 years ago. So
they were already there at the Independence Day.
Yeah, they even assisted to independence. So you have years of collection of mismanagement, trauma, and all this, and then you give somebody that much power. I'm not saying the age is a problem. No, you have you give that much power, but there is no restructuring. The country, the people of the country is okay, but the people of the country. You take a country. I'm just gonna give you an example. You take a country like Nigeria that have more than 200 million people, now 240 million people. That's a powerhouse. There is no country in the Middle East, if I respectfully, or in Africa that's supposed to stand economically compared to Nigeria, due to the number of people you have, due to that, take the number of youth Nigeria have, due to the kind of economics. You have petrol, you have what we call like a powerhouse structure that you're supposed to have. But then you still have Nigeria recently. You hear that the president wanted to take a loan. It doesn't work. It doesn't. The calcul does not calculating.
Anyway, I like us to. I like us to, there's a lot to get into, but I would like us to build up into it, and I would like to get into the next question I'd like to have for you. We discussed.
If I may, sorry, sir.
Yes,
if I may, I will be doing injustice for Nigeria. Let's take the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't even know where to start. We have a country that is 3 times Kenya. I think we should be 2 or 3 times also Nigeria. Okay. We have natural resources that you can find natural resources in your own compound. You don't need to go outside.
Are you serious?
I was in Burundi. I was invited to speak in Burundi, and they brought me to a mineral camp, place where we have to see minerals. And then I saw the stone that they call jewelry. We have them in our compound home. Literally, we use those jewelry. I was so shocked. I was asking, are you sure this is? I'm like, yeah, this one we put on our compounds. We build with them compounds. They're calling them natural resources. And they are literally extracting them, send them to China.
Wow.
I was so shocked. So it's not just Nigeria, it's Congo, it's South Sudan, it's almost all the countries. Almost all the countries. Wow. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Now, I wanted to get back to the issue of governance.
Yes, sir.
Most of us believe that governance is a thing of just politics, but how does governance, how important is it in personal business, the church, the schools, and even families? Let's even focus on the church, the schools, the personal business. How do we get an African person to understand that governance starts from this level, from your family governance goes up that way. How do we get an African person to understand that?
I'm gonna give a very fast story. It's very short, so it will help us. There was a man who was praying to God, and
Mhm,
he like, God, I want to change the world. I think you have heard the story. I want to change the world. And
mhm,
after 2 years, he realized there was no answer. He said, God, I want to change the continent, Africa. And then there was no answer after 2 years. That's 4 years already.
mhm,
And then he said, God, I want to change our country, my country. After
mhm,
that, 2 years again, he couldn't. I want to change my city. He couldn't. I want to change my household. He couldn't. Then the last thing, say, God, at least change me. Help me to change myself. I want to change
mhm,
me. And according to the story, from there, God told him, since you started at the right place, I'm going to help you to govern not just yourself, your city, your country, and change the world. The word governance, sorry?
Go ahead, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, the word governance comes from governing. Governing is giving direction. And anything that does not have direction have a
Mhm.
tendency to not have a target to hit. Wow,
Okay,
without a
without
target,
direction, there's no target.
yeah, without direction, without direction, there's no target. If you don't have a direction, it means you don't have a target. And if you don't have a
Mhm.
target, how do you measure success?
Hmm. Okay.
So as an individual, you're supposed to have a target. You're supposed to have a target that help you to reach. But then governing is the way that you do to get to the target. Is a
Mhm,
decision-making system that you set to get to the target. So means also if you have a small boutique, small shop, you have a system of governing that boutique. In such a way, you might not be aware of it. You might think it's instinctively, but if people take to see you every day, they will find
mhm,
patterns of your decision-making process that govern that
mhm,
boutique. So let me try to get
mhm,
it even bigger. In terms of business and churches, when you have a small churches where you and your wife and kids attending, you don't need to set timing for offerings. You don't need time for this. You don't. But then the
mhm,
moment you reach a number of 5, 10 people, you start realizing there need to be a time for offerings. There need to be a time for this, for preaching. So you start putting structure. You become
mhm,
more predictable. Governance is not just political. Governance is in everything we do in life. If you want to make something work, if a system is big, if you have something big and huge coming, you have to create a system behind it. And that system is a decision making process. How do we get from point A to B, C, D? And that
mhm.
system that you establish, that's what we call governing. That's why you will see in the country, whenever there's a crisis, people go back to the governance, to the governing body, and like, hey, we have a poor governance and stuff. It means we have a system that does not allow us to reach the target.
So I love when we discuss the concept of system.
Yes, sir.
Building a system can be boring. Building a system can
It
be,
is.
it can be very tasking. Building a system can
Yes.
be very exhausting. It takes a lot of time. Do you think that we Africans do not like to build system because it is boring, it is tasking, and it's very demanding? That will lead me to the next question,
Yeah.
please.
That's a very
Okay,
good question.
just come
And
before I give you this.
yeah, that's a very good question. I will firstly go in saying this, if you allow me. Building, as you said, building a system is boring, it's time demanding because it requires a mental picture of what you want
Mm-hmm,
to achieve. So
mm-hmm,
most of people, they work the hard work of hands without the mental picture and the mental shaping. While it always starts in the mind before it reach the physical.
mm-hmm.
So there is an author who says, actually, I think it's Sun Tzu, I have to see, but the author says actually the glorious warrior win the war and then go and fight.
Hmm.
The
So
loser,
you see victory before you get into the fight. You
you
see,
plan victory, you walk victory in your head, you walk it on papers, you structure it, and then you go and fight. The loser, the one who loses often, will actually go and fight and then plan victory in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
This will bring you close to something you will see in African leadership, where the ruling party get power without a strong plan. They had a campaign plan, but the realistic plan they don't have. So
They have campaign promises. They
yes,
usually don't have a plan. They have
yes,
campaign promises.
yes. Because in campaign promises, they don't get time to explain to you how are they going to realize what they said. They just
Yes.
have to tell you we're going to do this. Wow, ruling. So this is why even actually in Afghanistan, people said, people start realizing actually ruling is so demanding than fighting war. Because ruling demand a mental picture, demand a strategy. And so people will see, if you can see that people will get angry very fast than thinking, because thinking demand more of you.
So
It
you're
demand energy.
saying that governance and leadership demands a lot of thinking, strategic thinking, but fighting doesn't demand a lot of that.
Those who got, yes, go ahead,
I don't
sir.
I don't know, because I know a lot of strategic thinking goes into winning wars.
That's what I told you before. The winning warrior win the war and then go to fight. So when I
Mhm.
said fighting, when I was giving an example of Afghanistan, what I was saying is what most of people who fight in Afghanistan, who were fighting jihadists, and most of people who were in the rebellious group, they just show them how to shoot guns.
Okay.
Those who think, they don't go to shoot guns.
The thinkers behind the war don't carry
Nope,
guns.
they don't carry guns.
And it
Those
does appear that this is not an issue of Afghanistan. I'm sorry to cut you short.
I know,
It
I
does
know, I
appear
know,
that
I
this is not
know,
an
I know.
Afghanistan issue. This is
Yeah,
something that is global,
I
because
know, sir.
thinkers are not at the war front.
Nope,
Thinkers
they're
are
not.
behind the war.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Because the one who think give you the idea of what's going to happen. And the one who fight often just want to be told what have to happen. So that's why you
Mhm.
see people will jump in anger very fast, then take a time to think of what happened.
Hmm.
Because
Because
thinking require to self-doubt yourself.
hmm.
And most people don't want to self-doubt themselves. They want to
Mhm.
make sure that what they think that's is reality. So that's why they don't get time to think and they react with anger. But if you have time to self-doubt yourself, you might ask yourself, was I right? Maybe I saw these, maybe I'm seeing this in a different angle. Maybe the cup is not half empty, maybe it's half full. So from there on, if you start questioning yourself and questioning what appear as reality, then it's something change in your mind, and you start understanding that thinking is the mother of all strategy
Okay.
and
Let's
acting. Thank you,
and
sir.
acting.
And acting come to bring to fruition what we have been thinking. So some people will stay either thinking without acting. Some people will act without thinking. That's the problem we have today in the world. And if you can conciliate both, you have a strategic result.
Great. I know our time is going so fast, and I know the conversation is everyone is enjoying the conversation just as I'm enjoying. And
Yes,
if
sir.
you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, on LinkedIn, I want to thank you for joining us. Please go ahead, like, share, comment, ask your questions. I'm sure that we will be happy to respond to your question. But please help us by sharing, help us by liking, help us by commenting. It is us knowing that you value what we're saying and that you think that what we're doing here is impactful. That's what encourages us. Thank you so much. I want to quickly go into something about sustainable institutions. Now,
Yes, sir.
if you check across African continents, rarely do you see companies that survive beyond the founder, whether it's a company or is a ministry, whatever. If you come to Turkey here, if you come to Turkey is very good with such, because you see companies that started with great grandfathers. Even if it is the butcher's shop, you go to a butcher's shop, you see the picture of the great-grandfather. You say, my great-grandfather was a butcher, my grandfather a butcher, I'm a butcher. You see somebody who's into textile, you see the picture of the great-grandfather, my great-grandfather was into this. What is the problem with African organizations? Why can't we build transgenerational institutions? Why can we build institutions that survive beyond the founder?
This is a very good actual thing. And this is where, again, it linked to the first question. When I said trauma and I said, I want to give you an example. One of the things, I run an organization. I've been around people who are the organization. I've studied about, actually, that's what I do. I'm doing a PhD in organizational leadership. One of the problem is, I'll give 3 examples. There are many, but I'll give 3 examples. The first problem is the leader become the system. That's the problem. When the decision maker is on the top and all other people just execute without knowing what's going on top, whenever there is no accountability, the leader become the system. The leader become the overall manager. Then the organization is weakened. The organization take the form of the leader. And the leader is gone, the strong man is gone, the organization goes. I'm going to give you an example of an country, also our organizations. Yes. Country organization. We had Zaire in Africa in our time. It was Zaire. We have Congo before Zaire. We have Belgium Congo. It was a structure that was established by the Belgium Congo. When the Belgium left, we came with Zaire. We built a structure that called Zaire. When Mobutu was the president at the time of Zaire left, he left Zaire. We have the Democratic Republic of Congo. So as country is a structure, as your organization is a structure, as church also is a structure. But then the problem becomes when this church, the organization, the country is built on the person, the system is built on the leader. So instead of the system serving the church, the system emanates from the leader. That becomes a dangerous thing. That's where governance plays and accountability also plays. So most of the leaders in this case, the people who replace them, they are their son or daughters because they are the one who have been so close to see them leading. They never get time to prepare the next generation of those who will lead after them. Even biblically, I'll give you an example. Even Moses prepared Joshua to lead after him. The only problem with our generation, the only problem in Africa is often we believe that if your father was a butcher, he sent the son at the university, the son was supposed to go and become a lawyer or something else, because the work that the father was doing is not as much glamorous. But we forgot that if the same butcher grows as in something big, that become a company. Family can grow to it. So we have this tendency of neglecting small beginning. We despise them. We don't take them into account, and we build system on people. The moment you take out the system, you start building a system independently of the person. People start saying, "You be smart. You are the one who sacrificed for this. If you have to leave this for your kids. You cannot just leave other people coming in." So there is this problem of society where we love now, give me now and the moment. So whenever the leader is gone, he now haven't prepared somebody who will take after him, and that goes. But then I will tell you something you shock you, and that's why I was talking about intergenerational trauma. Before colonization, before slavery, we had a system in Africa where the leaders were ruling or were leading something, and then they will start initiate their kids. We have what you call in Africa initiation. Yeah, they will take young people. They'll bring them in the forest, maybe for 3-4 days. And they stay there so they can be trained to be good hunters. So in some cases, they will go for 6 months, within a year. You go in the forest, you are hunting with your father, you're hunting with a group of young people. They initiate you. So the moment you come back, you are a good trained, actually, hunter. If your dad was a doctor, in that time, like a practitioner doctor, cultural doctor, they will initiate you progressively. If your daddy was a king, you become a prince, and you are being trained, you stay in the court. So you've been trained. That was broken with slavery. We lost that in slavery. We lost that also after colonization. We have a new society where education teach you where to find the money, where to be trained as an employee. So the culture of initiation, that's what we have in Turkey, in Ottoman Empire. Almost all empires had this one, initiation. But
You know,
then,
I'm sorry to cut you short now that you mentioned Turkey now, because
yeah.
I remember I came in contact with someone who is a cook.
Yes,
He's
sir.
a cook for a school.
Yes, sir.
So, and he told me that one of his son has gone to study gastronomy.
Definitely. That's the
And
way.
one of his, I think either his son, another son or daughter, is a dietitian now. And another son or daughter has gone to study something in line with the same thing. And you can see that it is all interconnected, because the whole idea is to build that organization in a way, that company in a way that it caters for different aspects of it.
Structure.
But just like you said, there is a problem when my mother or an African child's mother is used to sells akara. Akara
I understand. Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
something on
can
the
be
road.
groundnut and anything.
Fried
Yeah.
or fried beans, fried
Yes, sir.
yam, or roadside food. There's a problem that someone says, because my mother is frying akara by the road, that I must go to school to study something that does not align with that. What happens from me taking from that small business and learning to expand it from that small business into a restaurant?
You see, that thinking, that's what we have lost along the way. That's the most important, because you are not taking just the business from your mom, you are taking
Mhm,
the customers, you are inheriting
mhm,
the customers, you are inheriting the structure she had, you are inheriting the knowledge you have had about the business. And there is no better place to invest where there is experience. When you invest your
hmm,
money in somewhere there is experience, your money is almost safe, because
hmm,
experience have been shaped in that way. So as you said, if the kids can take from the parent, that's where education will be important. If the kids can take from the parent and learn how my mom used to do business and now bring
mhm.
it to a better and bigger level, we have I mean, the Rothschild today, known as the wealthiest, almost the wealthiest family. Is the
Yes,
father was a banker. He have his son. He sent one to Spain, one to Belgium, one to different countries,
yes,
and make them also
international.
bankers. So that's the way forward. Intergenerational wealth. That's something that build countries, build actually communities.
Let me quickly get into something that has been pervading the African social media platforms now. You know,
Yes, sir.
when we were together in Izmi, for
Yes, sir.
most persons who did not know,
Yeah.
Mervis was with us here in Izmi,
Yes, sir.
and again we say kudos to Turkey for what Turkey is doing. And we had Africans, especially in the church, more than 10, well, maybe 20, 30 countries together.
Yes,
And
sir.
we all work together, whether we are Ghanaians, South Africans, Nigerians, Kenyan, Namibians, Ethiopians. We worked together, supported each other, looked after each other. And when one person was in problem, it felt like we all were in problem. We worshiped together. We did, we were
We went
very
PhD
united.
together.
So why do you think Africans abroad, and especially, even let's go to South Africa now, why do you think that Africans find it harder to coexist?
In
Why do
Africa or abroad?
let's start with Africa. Why do we find it difficult to coexist? Because we see South Africans pushing to say, get out of our country, get out of our country. You see the Ghanaians are responding, get out of our country. And recently Nigerians were at the High Commission office of South Africa to say, you also get out of our country. What
But
is the problem?
But Nigerians were kind, actually. We have to, because we watched the video. They were kind. They
Mhm.
were not brutal. They wanted to talk to the lady. They
Okay.
didn't actually brutalize the lady comparatively to other countries. So I will maybe point out a few things, and it might come as a shock. So
Okay.
I'm actually, first of all, telling you it might come as a shock. So I hope those who will be watching us will also just let's take time to think. We got independence. Nigeria, most African country got independence 1960s.
Yeah, that's
After
true.
1960s, our grandparents or our parents went to school, studies, and started having access to education. South Africa was in a struggle for power.
Yes.
There were not that much education for black men. You're following me? In
Yeah.
1994, South Africa getting independence, and that's where the new generation of people being educated. Instead of working just in mine, people start going to school. They used to go to school, but not as much after independence. So some guys start getting in business, politics, different spheres of economics from 1994. We, other country, we helped South Africa to get to independence. Tanzania, what would I say? Ghana, Nigeria, all these countries, we put our money to help South African to get independence. Then what happened that the people we help now are turning against us? You have to understand that this is a social thing that we have to understand.
Okay.
Is actually, even I believe maybe other countries putting them in the shoes of South Africa now, they might react almost the same, not the same, but almost the same.
Okay.
You have majority of South African who are not as well educated. Some of black are not well. Let me finish. Are not well educated as much for technical needs in their country.
South Africans are going to come for you on this one.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's facts. This is a. I can bring fact. It's not. I'm not fighting against them. They are my brothers. Actually, I understand them even more. And I think what I'm doing right now is to try and make them understand, equalize the tension. Most of them, some of those people who are fighting people, beating people, some of them are not as much educated.
Okay.
You take somebody come from Congo who since 1960s, his grandpa went to school, university, and his father went to school, university, and his son now in our generation have been to school and university. He have a culture of education. He's skilled enough. When you take somebody like that and somebody who went to school since 1994, 20 years ago, you put them in the same balance. Economically, they have a country that have an economy that is thriving. So for the economy to continue thriving, those people who come with company in South Africa, they need a qualified, that's how we call it, qualified labor force.
Okay.
So when they need a qualified labor force, they find on the ground there's no qualified labor force. Now you have people coming from Nigeria, from Congo, from Namibia, Zimbabwe, who are gonna come to cover the lack of qualified labor force. That's not even the problem. The problem become what? Is when Lambda South African, who doesn't have a job, who's living in the slum, realize actually they're saying our country is doing well. But how am I not doing well as our country? What is the problem? And when you take the statistic you see, okay, the white minority is still working, but there was also a black majority that is working. And then when they look in the black majority that is working, say, these are not us. These are people from outside. So if the statistic shows that black people are making it in South Africa, but in reality, those black people are not South Africans. Okay. And we South Africans, we are not making it. How do we tell people that we are not making it?
So are you trying to say, like I said, are you trying to say that a larger percentage of those who are actively engaged in this xenophobic attacks across South Africa are not really educated? So you're saying that the educated ones are not actively involved in this, but the ones who are not really educated are involved in this.
I'm not asking a question that will answer that. Who will give you his job? Which company will allow you to take Monday to Friday, go rioting instead of be working while we pay you monthly?
But that's another angle. But let's also look at this way. I do believe that South Africans have the right to say we do not want illegal immigrants in our country. They have the right to say that. Now, what I do not believe that
Okay.
they don't have a right to is the right to take laws into their hand and to defile the constitution or defile the laws and go directly to attack those involved. I do believe that this is work for the leadership, for the police, for other levels of the government to tackle. But I must acknowledge to say that the South Africans have the right to say we do not appreciate illegal immigrants in our
So
country.
that's
But
where
I
I
do
was
not
going.
know if they are also attacking legal immigrants. If they are attacking legal immigrants, that's a big problem, I must confess.
They do actually. Some of them do. We have videos. So I was going to getting that point. So when you have a population where statistics shows like 30 to 33% unemployment, in those 30 to 33% of unemployment in the country,
Mhm.
you have to take the 8% of the white majority that is working. You have to take the Indians that are working. So you
Mhm.
realize the remaining is black people.
Okay.
Then in that 33% of majority black South
Mhm.
African, you have 57% of them, statistics shows 57% of them are young people unemployed. So you
Okay.
have a 57% of young people unemployed in that statistic. What are they gonna do if they don't have a job? Some gonna try to get something illegal. Some gonna try to have some commerce that is not actually registered by the state. Some gonna
Mhm.
find themselves in gangs, and you have this as proof in gangs and so. So when you take those gangs, and I'm trying to run for governor, for instance, I'm giving you an example of a simple African mindset. I
Yeah.
want to run for governor. And I come to these people, I tell them, guys, you know why you don't have jobs and money? Not jobs, money, because most of people don't want a job, they just want money. You know why you don't have
Okay.
money? Yeah, because you see all these people who are coming from Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Congo, and stuff, they are taking your jobs. So I'm gonna give you an example that this has come from Julius Malema, the leader, one of the leaders in opposition, who explained
Yeah.
that he was rioting with people.
Mhm.
They go to a restaurant, and as they were rioting, they get to a restaurant and they told the owner of the restaurant, "You have immigrant working here, dietitian who are immigrant. So we're asking you to fire them, take some of our South African, but because the law asked for that." And the white guy said, "I will be willing. Give me 10 dietitian in the people you just came with. You have almost 5,000 people with you outside. Give me 10 dietitian. I'm hiring them right away, right now." So Julius called the people outside. This is a true story. Julius called the people outside and asked, "Can I have 10 dietitian?" No one came up, not even a single person. He told them, "Okay, if you know people who are actually dietitian, if you know people, anybody who is dietitian, call him right now. I'm standing here for 2 hours. Call them. We'll put their CV here. They'll be hired." After the 2 hours, Julius Malema asked, told the guy, "I understand, forgive me. That's one of the things our government's supposed to do." I think the problem in South Africa right now is not about the foreigners. It's a
Mhm.
problem of
It's about
governance. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get there. It's a problem of governance, and it's a problem of skill aid. The South African people don't need money, I think. They need more skill. Giving money to people who do not develop skill, they will still be depending. But then what they're doing is the way that politicians also can use them to say, he tap into something that he realized, okay, this is a need of people. We need
Mhm.
somebody to get hungry too. So let's
Mhm.
pick up foreigners. Because
Mhm.
the foreigner who comes, they come to create jobs. Normally, they're opening shops. They are bringing product. When you close those shops, you become more poor because those shops
So,
bring food to your country.
but I want to ask this: why do you think Africans in diaspora, even though we do not cooperate well enough in comparison to other other groups out in diaspora? For example, we know the Mexicans. If you read, and the Mexicans cooperate a lot when they are in diaspora. The Jews cooperate a lot when they're in diaspora. The Turkish people cooperate a lot when they're in diaspora, especially the Turkish group have a huge political and system influence in Germany. Why do
Definitely.
you think that we do cooperate? But my question is, why do you think Africans in diaspora? cooperate a little better than Africans at home. Not that we could, in comparison to other groups in diaspora, we cooperate the least. But why do you still think that we cooperate better than those in diaspora?
Very good. I want to answer that very fast, but just give me maybe a second to make sure I do justice to the topic of xenophobia. I think, as I was saying, the problem in South Africa, there is a need of governance, skill aid, skilling the Black, bringing them to making sure they have program that skill people, and there is a reward and there is an investment. BBP, I think there was a Black empowerment investment. BBP that's where the government should come into. Leaving that, trying to stop xenophobia without empowering people or giving them skills that are practical, this will keep on coming over and over. Is like telling the lame to walk without legs. This will keep on coming. So back to the question of abroad, how do we cooperate with South African? I remember in our church, we had South Africans, good friends, good of my people. How do we cooperate with the Ghanaians? How do we cooperate? How do we find ourselves abroad, working together in peace and collaboration? In international relations, we call them actually the balance of threat.
Okay.
So the theory of balance of threat means actually we are small groups facing a big threat, that is being in a foreign country. We are facing a bigger problem not being home. So as we are small groups, we put our divergency aside. We're trying to survive together, the threat of being abroad. The moment we make it, we'll start fighting again between each other.
So you think that even in diaspora, the moment we make it, even in diaspora, we fight against each other. And I'm sorry to cut you short, but I do agree with this, your narrative, because I have seen that most Africans out in diaspora, the moment they make it, they it's almost as if they step out of their own community to go and be with another community.
The accent change, even the accent change.
The accent change, and if it's a struggling man, while he was struggling, he was dating African ladies. But when he makes it, he steps outside of the African community to go marry a Caucasian or someone from another group.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the things of what we call I will call they try to. There is a term of it. The term is actually, I'm gonna explain it. Is you try to get into, you try to be a part of the community that you have been trying to get from. You know, there's one thing to leave your country. Yeah, there's one thing to leave your country to go to Europe, but there's also another thing to become European.
Yes.
So as people usually say, you can leave your country and find yourself in Europe, but surrender with other Africans. You still have that link that is so strong to Africa.
So we want to cut the link the moment we make it.
The moment you make it, you want to be a European, because when you were together as Africans, you were praising Europeans. So you want to also be praised. So you actually try to integrate. That's a term, actually. You're now trying to integrate because now you have made it. So as I was saying, I want to make sure I clear the balance of threat is actually the way people usually will come together, work together, fight together until they have actually balanced the problem or the people or the community that is in front of them. You will have Arab, you have Black people, you have all kind of people coming together, marching against maybe European supremacy and stuff, or Caucasian and stuff. The moment that is set, the moment they have been settled in the community, they have been accepted, integrated, having paper and document, they start seeing other Black people as a problem. So I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example. People talk about Kemi, the Black opposition from UK. She's from Nairobi.
You know, her story is quite intriguing and interesting because she's Nigerian. The moment she got to the level where she is and was vying for the position of Prime Minister of UK, you know, she began to disassociate herself from Nigeria. She began to, you know, say things like, my parents are Nigerian, I'm not Nigerian. It's amazing how people feel like disassociating from your origin make you more acceptable to the other group.
And that's the point, and that's the politician mindset, and that's the problem we have. So at least that give it a clear example. I don't even need more to elaborate about that, because you have the balance of threat. The moment the threat is neutralized, we go back to fight each other. So if we were cool, we were very good, everyone together, it's because we had the threat before us, being a foreigner in another country, and we don't know if I feel sick tomorrow, maybe Pastor George will bring me there to hospital. Maybe Pastor George will bring me food. But the moment I have a stable job, I have enough money, you will see some of the people we had didn't come to church anymore.
But that we can see that. There's a proverb that says that once a blind person begins to see, the first thing he throws away is the stick that has guided him. I can tell you that I have seen people that we have stood by them all through their struggling years, trying to balance, and then the moment they balance, they suddenly realize, I don't fit into this community anymore. I will go find another community that I think is befitting for me.
They start telling you egusi doesn't taste well. They start telling you a cassava that gives you belly. So it's usually that. So.
I want us to quickly take one more question, because we run out of time.
Yes, sir.
When you think of Africa, the next 10, 20 years, the whole continent as a whole, what role do you think young professionals, entrepreneurs, scholars, and faith community builders, what role do you think these young people in these different sectors should play, so that we don't repeat the story of the past 60, 70 years, as you have said?
As a scholar, I have to give a context in the 10 years, where the world is going and what will be our play, what we'll have to do. We are coming from a multilateral system to multipolar power. So let me explain the multilateral. The multilateral is the UN, the World Trade Organization, all these big organizations that bring countries together and trying to solve the problem diplomatically.
Yeah.
We are shifting from that to a multipolar power. The multipolar power is when you have countries become so powerful by themselves, they don't respect the multilateralism anymore. So when you see Russia, you see Russia taking their position, the US attacking Iran,
China doing their thing, France doing their thing.
Yeah, so
I think Hungary before the last election doing their thing,
definitely
like that.
So in a multipolar power, a country becomes stronger, and when they become stronger, they need other countries to side up with them.
Okay.
So in the next 10 years, while the threshold have been passed. We are right now literally our steps are into multipolar system now. So that's why you'll see France and Africa summit. These are summits where France trying to position themselves for the future.
I'm sorry to cut you short. I have never understood, and I don't think I will understand, why France will say France-Africa Summit.
Well, France is a country.
France is a country, for Christ's sake. It's one country. So why lump all African countries and expect all of them to come together for you to speak to them? If you want to address one country, say France-Nigeria Summit. If you want to have business with Kenya, Kenya business. Don't lump. I don't think it is right and appropriate for one country in Europe or wherever to say, this is France, this is Spain, this is Italy, Africa Summit. I think African countries should be respected, and every country who wants to have a bilateral relationship or whatever you will call it should go to that country, approach that country deal with it. If Europe wants to deal with Africa, Europe should deal with Africa. If Middle East wants to deal with Africa, Middle East should deal with Africa. But if another country from Europe or any other place wants to deal with an African country, go deal with that country.
So as I was telling you, it's like we have today, since Nigeria produces better oil, we could have had Nigeria-Europe summit. But then, that's what I'm saying. The problem is leadership. It's governance and understanding where you stand. When there is money that is being, there is a promise of investment. And you have to take into account that most of the money that they promise in investment is not accountable in the parliament. The leader will move. Because if the money is accountable in the parliament, then there's not much interest for the leader to lower themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then when there is a money that will not be too much accountable for the government, or when we think we can grab something from France, or a favor, or being in the pictures, as President Kagame said, some of leaders just go for the pictures. So then it's a problem of leadership, the mindset. We still think like they are superior. We're supposed to bow. They have the money. We're supposed to bow. They have, so that's a problem of mindset. I'm not going to get into much in that. You understand the timing, as you said, and you already gave my point.
Quickly, in 2 minutes, quickly.
Yes,
in 2 minutes, quickly. How should young entrepreneurs, young persons in different sectors, what should be our role so that in the next 10, 20 years, we don't have France Africa Summit. We don't have Italy, Spain, Africa Summit. What should young entrepreneurs do?
One thing I would say, if I have to remove all other things, if I have to take all other things away, we have what we call value addition, value chain. It means value chain and standard production. It means like the world we're in almost a capitalist world. So for young entrepreneurs, they have to add value on the product they take from their own country. For instance, if we take cobalt out of Congo, when it goes out of Congo, we only gain 3% out of it. The 97% is abroad. Create job in China, create job in Singapore, Malaysia, and so on. But if the same cobalt is value addition, is worked and processed here in our own country, the chain of value is made in our country, and we sell the product that is finished. That's if there is any other things we can do, if there is any other thing we can play about, that's what developed China, that's what developed Singapore, that's what developed actually most of countries you see in East Asia or in the Asia Pacific. That it's the value chain, the product. The young entrepreneur in Africa, the young people in Africa must demand, not plead, not beg, must demand that any product that want to leave their country should be value addition, the value addition should be done in their own country. That's what we see Dangote is trying to do in Nigeria. He's been fought by everyone, even the people on the ground. I'm not just going to give example. Even the government on the ground before he used to have problems. And now, as he produced petrol and it's been refined in Nigeria, some Europeans start refusing to say the quality. And now when he reached the quality, they say, no, one person cannot have that kind of power. We have to divide, find a way we can divide actually many other people to get in the market. It's the value addition. The secret is not something that we fell from heaven. One thing for African and for youth of my generation, the youth of the future, is to ask their government, no product should leave their ground without the value addition. If we can just tap into that, we will create over 400 million jobs in our own continent.
Thank you so much, Mervis Shembo. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And I feel like you want to add one more thing before we leave.
Maybe if what I will say is there is no magic stick. There is no nothing we're gonna fill on our head that we don't have. It's not like we lack knowledge. No, we have actually most PhD coming from Nigeria and Ghana. We have more of people who have been smart, intelligent. The only thing we need right now is to have congruency, is to work together as youth in the different countries and making sure we ask for value addition. If we can topple that, the remaining of everything reverberate around that. Everything right now in the economy walk around that.
Thank you for having this conversation with me, Mervis
Thank you.
Shembo. I know you travel a lot across Africa, inspiring young people and sharing your ideas on governance and leadership. I'm excited about the future ahead of you. Like
Thank you,
I've
sir.
always said before, I hope that one day and soon you get into the presidency of your country, you get into the Senate, you get into the
May God
leadership
have us.
levels where you can make decisions that will influence and affect your country positively. So I thank you for always being available to share thoughts with us on the StandOut Conversation. And for those who joined us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, we want to say thank you for being part of the StandOut Conversation. Until I bring my next guest to you again, this is Chigozie George sign out from the StandOut Conversation. Please, thank you so much again, Mervis Shembo. Have a
Thank you so
wonderful
much, sir. It's a great pleasure, sir. Thank you.
yeah.